This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Looking to start a side hustle or become your own boss? Do it with Shopify. Whether you're selling succulents or stilettos, Shopify has the industry-leading tools to help you create, control, and grow your own business. So get serious about selling and get Shopify today. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.co.uk/special offer.
Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process and for authors to learn valuable tips on producing and marketing your audiobooks. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. I am excited to have with me today Chrissy Grigoropoulos, author of Lady Shark. Chrissy is also the founding and managing attorney of the Grigoropoulos Law Group, PLLC. She's also the corporate real estate broker of Property Shark Realty, Inc., a real estate investor, as well as the CEO of IME Sharks, Inc. Chrissy, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Becky. You're awesome.
Thank you. So are you. You are a dynamo, Lady Shark. And I mean, just looking at all the things that you have already accomplished in your life, you are a true inspiration. And speaking of inspiration, I would love to hear from you. Like, what was the inspiration behind writing the book, Lady Shark?
So I basically am the guru of knowledge, both useful information as well as what I like to say, I'm full of useless information that happens to be helpful when, people are phoning a friend, as may. So I wanted to put together some information and some encouraging words for people that might be in a rut or stuck in a certain place or thinking that they're at a certain age that they can't do more, or they're stuck in this repetition of a 9-to-5 or stay-at-home moms that have no, real first step of where to go. So it was really to encourage lady sharks alike to take that next step and know that the impossible is possible.
I love that. I'm so reminded when you describe that and the broad range of who you are here to help, with your messaging. I'm reminded of when I was a kid. I was, maybe 10 when I decided I'm going to go out and, earn money selling seeds. And I created what I called the Parker Scholarship Fund because I was raising money for my own education, but I definitely had that entrepreneurial spirit. So
exactly.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, it's a great message that we can make changes and do amazing things no matter where we are on our journey.
Exactly. And society likes to put norms on, and ceilings on people. And I don't like being told that you can't do something, and it actually motivates me. So a lot of people, unfortunately, do that to themselves. They're like, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. And there's no such thing. You work hard enough and you figure out how to work smart rather than hard per se, and it'll happen.
Yeah. That's so true. I think that that is a message that we are often telling ourselves, and we're so used to hearing out there in the world is, oh, you can't do that. Or we hear it even from our friends or family that the discouraging messages for whatever reason, they have. But so tell us a little bit about the title itself. What got you, how did you land on Lady Shark as your title?
So Lady Shark has been a nickname of mine since my 20s. I had someone that I used to work with, and they used to just be like, you're such a lady shark. And I'm like, really? A lady shark? And further along in my adventures of working with people, one of my mentors, he's no longer with us, rest in peace. His name's Robert DiDio. He's an attorney. He was a criminal defense attorney, and they knew him in the defendant world of, when he was taking care of clients in jail as the Superman. So obviously they would call him the Superman. I already had Lady Shark. So it was just something that grew and grew, and it just stuck with me. And you know what? It's such a good phrase because it doesn't mean an attorney. It doesn't mean a real estate broker. It doesn't mean an investor. It doesn't really have that certain thing. You can be any type of entrepreneur or a go-getter, and you're a lady shark. So, I definitely love that it encompasses all different realms of professions, non-professional areas of business, and it just pushes people. And I think that with regard to the second part of the title, How to Become a Millionaire in Your 30s, I'm 35. Obviously, I'm still in my 30s. And I think that a lot of times, again, with the ceilings that are provided by society and basically sometimes men versus women, and even you need to build certain amount of experience or you need this fancy degree from Ivy League, none of that means anything. And if it's obviously I do have my doctorate, but even if I didn't, that wouldn't stop me from being an entrepreneur, being a lady shark, being someone that can provide stability for myself and my family and my employees alike.
That is so true. And I love that sort of superhero mentality. The nicknames, I think that can actually really help us in terms of overcoming that other voice that wants to say, oh, you can't do that. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, you can do anything. And,
Yeah,
maybe we need to each find our own little superhero nickname for ourselves so that
exactly.
it's that you have that little coach on your internal coach on your corner or on your
Mhm.
shoulder, that's sending you messages.
Oh, just pushing you. You just got to be pushed. You have to create that fire inside of yourself. A lot of people are like, I need to do it for someone. And I have children now. I didn't always have children through my journey of, through being an entrepreneur, going through schooling, all that fun stuff. But you have to do it for yourself. You have to want better for yourself. And when you're wanting something so bad for yourself, when you do have family, whether they're family that believes in the dream or family that's like, I don't know if this is a good idea, that you want to prove wrong, you just got to have that fire, keep fueling it with, branches and sticks and leaves and paper, anything you can find. Just throw it in there and just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say, how would you best describe what your book and audiobook, what they sort of the issues they address?
So I give a lot of advice. I talk about my journey, but my advice isn't about being an overnight success. It's about embracing the process of personal growth, gaining financial literacy to live life to the fullest. If you don't know what's going on in your financial world, meaning the day-to-day bills that you're already required to have, how can you then go into a new business or, a new project, not knowing what your status quo is? So I want to give people that baseline of where to start, how to try to get money together. Some people have no idea where their next step could be towards the journey of financial freedom. So I give different ideas in towards the later end of the book about, whether you want to buy a business, whether you want to create your own business, whether you want to do something only on the side of your 9 to 5 so you don't feel so insecure, leaving something secure for something insecure. And it really it provides a framework to achieve financial freedom and become a lady shark if you're not already one.
Yeah, beautiful. And why, just to sort of dig deeper on that, like why do you feel like those issues and sharing that information is so important to you?
I think that I've had a lot of mentors along the way, and I was raised by my parents to always ask questions and to try to surround yourself with people that are more advanced than you, that are older than you, that are more accomplished than you. And don't be afraid to have conversations and network and do that thing that a lot of people are very insecure to do, to start conversation with someone that's a multimillionaire, but we all, came into the world naked with nothing. So there's no one is better than anyone. I take that approach in my own life. You treat everyone the same and you can learn things from, my father. If you see my father, he looks just like a regular person with a t-shirt and jeans, and he's been through so much, and he started from the ground up, and he will, with my doctorate, with all my education, he's always going to be smarter than me. So you can't judge a book by its cover. So I try to tell people about mistakes that I've made or experiences that I've had. A lot of naysayers and people judging and people, again, trying to put the ceiling on you, like, oh, you can't do that, or you're not
Yeah.
smart enough for that, or who's going to take you seriously. And just own yourself, own your position, own your look, own what you want to successfully accomplish in your world.
You've brought up a few things there that I find I want to sort of touch back to. One is about financial education. This is something that I've often brought up. I spent a lot of my years as an educator, and it's always frustrated me that we don't really receive the kind of financial education that would just help us get by each day to learn these very things that you are sharing in your book, Lady Shark. So powerful. So, yeah, anything else that you want to comment on in terms of sort of financial education?
Sure. I think that it's sad because you're taught so many things in school like sex ed, and I'm not saying that's not important, but can you teach me about building credit? Like my father taught me about a credit card. I happened to finish high school early, so I finished high school when I was 16, and that's the same age that I got my first credit card. And my dad's like, "Listen, even if you're the richest person in the world, if you don't have credit, you're dead." And maybe I didn't understand what the hell he was talking about then, but little by little you realize that without credit, without the possibility of having this credit limit, without building your credit score, in the beginning, he was just like, whatever you pay for, your gas for your car, use the credit card, paid in full every month. You have a cell phone, put it on your credit card, paid in full every month. And then you're building with things that are your necessities that you're paying in full every month anyway. So then you're creating this basically relationship with a credit bureau, with your creditors, showing that, you have a responsible demeanor, you're able to be trusted. So let's say you do get a lease in the future, or you want to finance a vehicle or a home, or, whatever your business venture is, even a business, they go with your social before you get your tax ID and an EIN and, things of that nature. So you need to prove yourself as a responsible human. And it's not only to your parents or to a spouse or to a school application, it's to the world that you're looking. Even if you have your own money in the bank, if you're able to get some financing in order to jump into a business venture or an investment, why not? Why use your own money, keep that as a backup and try to get it financed? But you need credit for that.
Let's take a short pause. We'll be right back. Would you like to earn more from your audiobook sales? If you're an author with an audiobook, you may have noticed that royalties from Audible especially, and other platforms as well, are frankly kinda pathetically low, disappointingly low, and unfairly low considering what it cost you in effort and resources to create it. How is it the retailers are the ones making all the money off your work and investment? As someone who started in the audiobook industry in 1981, I've found it frustrating that authors keep getting shortchanged. The good news is that Pro Audio Voices just launched Amplify Audiobooks, a direct sale audiobook platform for authors that puts you back in the driver's seat. Earn 65% of the gross sales price that you set. Compare that to the percentage of the percentage that retailers give. Run promotions on schedule whenever you want. Create coupon codes. Build community with your customers, since you'll know who they are and how to contact them. Work with a caring, responsive, supportive team to help you succeed all along the way. Get help with marketing. Get paid weekly. We're helping audiobook authors who are frustrated by painfully low royalties and the barriers that prevent them from managing their own products and customers. Amplify Audiobooks is a direct sale platform that enables authors to earn much higher royalties and have way more control. We're disrupting the audiobook industry by putting authors first. Get started today at proaudiovoices.app or go to proaudiovoices.com and click on the Distribution Amplify link. Join the movement. And we're back. Another thing that you mentioned, and now you've even brought even more to that picture, is about mentorship. It sounds like your father was a wonderful mentor in that regard, in that area that so many of us missed out on. But you also expressed how you've had mentors along the way. I know I have a mentor as well, and that has made a huge difference for me. Tell us a little bit about how you found your first mentor, aside from your father, and what has guided you in the process of working with mentors.
I think when you are able to look up to someone or you see someone and you're almost in awe with their accomplishments and you're just curious, you're like, how did they get so far? What did they do? How can I get there? Obviously, I'm a lot younger than a lot of my mentors, or, at least I was when I first met them. You have to just basically see, you can feel success. I feel like when you're hungry for success, you can feel it around you. And when you ask questions, questions and someone is forthcoming with the responses and they want to be helpful and they're actually intrigued by your questions, it builds a rapport. And from that rapport, you feel more comfortable to ask more questions. And then they become your, who wants to be a millionaire, phone a friend. And I think it really goes that way. It's not something so formal like, hey, where do I apply to get a mentor? Not that I call myself a mentor for a lot of people, because obviously that's whoever's the mentee, I guess, is decision to call you that or not. But I make myself available because I've gotten help along the way and because I try to ask questions. If someone asks me, hey, how do I do this? What do you think about this business idea? What do you think? I'm more than happy to help. Why not? One hand washes the other. And when you give good into the world, I'm a true believer that it comes back to you. So that's pretty much how the mentor-mentee world, in my opinion, works.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it brings up, I think, as well, the whole thing about how important it is to be out there in the world where your potential mentors may be. So that involves actually engaging in the world and in networking and in finding those people that you look up to and finding ways to be near them.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to put yourself out there, even if it feels uncomfortable. A lot of people are introverts, but you have to push yourself. And it's true, because if you don't ask for something, one, the world isn't going to know that you want to know about it or need help in that aspect. And you're just, failing yourself by the lack of opportunity for extra opinions and ideas that you can, put all together and create your own response or thought process.
Yeah. I'm reminded of many decades ago, I was working in a theater company, and we would book performances in universities and all over the place. And I had just read the book Ask, which I think is by Jack Canfield. And we had been to this one university and performed there at a very low rate. And after reading that book, when I talked with them again to book a show, I asked literally for 10 times the amount. And they were like, yeah, no problem. And I went, wow, that was so life-changing to realize that.
To know your value and be able to say, I'm not asked about it. It is what it is, and that I am valuable.
Yes.
But if you don't believe that your value is that, why would somebody provide that to you? I think that's such a good, come out from that story.
It is.
If you think you're worth $1 million and you say, listen, I need $1 million, and hey, okay, you're right, you do.
Yeah.
And hey, look, I'm validated now. I created something of myself, and they're giving it to me.
Yeah. And it kind of circles back to that superhero, internal cheerleader. Yeah, that's great. Now, I know in your book and your audiobook, you have a section with a workbook. And so there were some lists that we talked about, ways that you could provide additional value in the audiobook that go, even potentially beyond what's in the print book. Tell us a little bit about how that's playing out.
So it basically focuses, obviously you're reading a book or listening to a book and you're getting all these ideas and you're like, wow, great. And maybe it's motivating you. But then once the book is over, it's like, wait, now what?
Yeah.
So I wanted to give someone or my readers and listeners something that they can then follow up with, and that will guide them to the beginning steps of the journey. It makes you put down what your status quo is with your finances. It makes you figure out the good ideas that you already have in your head, put them down on paper, and how can you convert those ideas into a business or into a business opportunity. I definitely thought that it was a necessity to come full circle after lecturing through my book of ideas and experiences and breaking through to something down on paper, and then a guideline of what the next steps are, and being able to look back on it and writing things down. And then you can, go back to it months ahead when you're actually in your journey and you're like, wow, I remember I wrote that. Look at where I am now. I've accomplished this.
Yeah.
And it's really fulfilling to be able to see things off of your checklist and accomplishing those hard things that you're struggling with now. It's not always going to be a struggle once you apply yourself.
Right. Yes. And I think there's great value, and I'd like to encourage our listeners and viewers to consider getting both the audiobook and the print or ebook, because you get, the way that we take in information, we reinforce it in different kinds of ways. And
Sure.
So I think that's great that you're providing that. And again, that circles me back in our conversation to the whole mentorship. And while it can be helpful to be inspired by ideas, it's especially helpful that we are then sort of guided through, taken through the beginning steps, and
Right.
can move forward. Yeah.
I know that it's easier also with people on the go. Myself, it's a lot harder to find free time to be able to focus on a book. Vacation time is far and in between, children at home, just scheduling. So sometimes you're just stuck in a car. You're able to listen to the audiobook and absorb it while you're in traffic, as opposed to trying to read something and be distracted by outside sources of distraction. So I try to provide a way to retain the information for everybody.
Yeah, great. And what's your aspiration with it moving forward?
I just hope to give Lady Sharks alike that little more spark to ignite the fire even further that they already have, because you have to have some type of a spark if you're already buying the book, listening to the book, reading the book. So I look to try to push people to know that, you know what, don't listen to anyone that's a naysayer, or don't try to put a ceiling on yourself or stop yourself from what your reality can be.
Yeah.
So hopefully that provides everyone with what they need in order to succeed.
Yeah, that's great. And anything else that you'd like to express about what you'd like your readers and listeners to take away from the book, that impact that you're hoping to have?
I definitely think that taking a risk in life is a goal. Writing a book, opening up a business, starting a side business, they're all risks that you have. Even parenting, you don't know what you're doing. Most parents don't come out, with being a professional from the beginning. Yeah. The same thing with entrepreneurs, business owners, side hustle, starters. So I think that it's just a baseline for everyone, and just know that you have to have belief in yourself, and it will happen. And I think that pushing people forward and sometimes stating the obvious and having people absorb it and listen to it over and read it over, it's really what people need as a little pep talk. And I think that pep talks are used very sparingly in today's society. It's more negative than positive, and you have to be your own cheerleader. But if I can provide that cheerleading energy for my readers and my listeners, I'm so happy and excited to be able to provide that to the world.
That's so great. Now, you chose to narrate your own audiobook yourself. Tell us a little bit about that decision, and then, what would you say is the most surprising thing about the audiobook production process that stands out to you?
I think that I chose to narrate my own book because I know the emphasis on how I wanted it to be interpreted and how I wanted it to be absorbed and heard by the public. And I really thought that who else better than to read it than the person that wrote it? So I definitely wanted it to be me, although it was definitely a long journey with the audiobook as well. It wasn't as easy as you expect it to be by reading off of a paper, because you don't want it to sound like you're reading off of a paper. Right. It was definitely fun. It was very interesting being in the same booth as some celebrities in the studio and artists. So I thought that was very interesting, being in the same studio as people that you see on TV and that you listen to on the radio and CDs. I thought that was unexpected. I didn't even think of that, because it was just, part of the process that you needed to go to the studio. And I think that it gives you just a different idea of the world and how quiet it is where you're in the booth with your own thoughts and with the writings on paper. And a lot of times, even before I would read and try to narrate, I already knew the story. So it would flow a lot better. And I think that it was more like a story time with Mother Goose than reading off of a paper, if I may.
Yeah, nice. So how can our listeners learn more about you and your writing? You want to share your website?
Sure. So the writing for the book is called theladyshark.com. I'm definitely on social media, Chrissy G Official, CHRISSY G Official. And I'm very open to answering any questions, providing any help, and, anything of that nature. I definitely like to call myself a professional in a lot of different aspects, whether it's finance or law, real estate, flipping houses. So I definitely like to make myself available to answer any questions that people may have.
That's great.
So it's very easy to get in contact with me through those sources.
That's great. And then for our listeners, and especially in relation to having an impact, both helping Chrissy have an impact, as well as you as someone who would like to listen to her audiobook having an impact, I encourage you to get it at Amplify Audiobooks. That's amplifyaudiobooks.com. So the Lady Shark audiobook is available at this time on that platform. So, Chrissy Grigoropoulos, thank you so much for taking this time.
Thank you so much, Becky.
I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too.
Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. Please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.